So I'll start again.
All right, good morning, distinguished participants, colleagues, partners, and stakeholders. My name is Okechukwu Aja, and I'm pleased to welcome you to today's webinar organized by the South-Saharan Social Development Organization, SSDO. Our webinar today is titled Monitoring and Evaluation, M&E for Beginners. We'll be looking at practical skills to track progress, measure results, and strengthen impact. On behalf of SSDO, I sincerely appreciate you for taking the time to join us today. Your participation actually reflects commitment to learning, accountability, and strengthening development practice. I'll be handing over to my co-host to continue with some aspects of our discussion today.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on monitoring and evaluation for beginners. My name is Professor Juliet, and I'll be co-hosting today's session. We're really excited to have you here because monitoring and evaluation is one of the most important tools for measuring whether projects, programs, and initiatives are making an impact. Today's session is designed especially for beginners, but it will also be valuable for anyone who wants practical understanding of monitoring and evaluation beyond just theory. Whether you work in development, health, education, community engagement, or you're simply curious about MIT, the session will provide useful and practical insight. But before we begin, I'd like to share a brief story that helps explain why monitoring and evaluation is so important. It's very important, actually. There's this story. An organization once celebrated distributing 500 mosquito nets to a community. Reports were submitted, pictures were actually taken, and on paper, the project looked successful. But months later, in that same community, malaria cases in that community were still very high. When an M&E officer visited the community, they actually discovered that many families were not even using the mosquito nets properly. Some used their own for farming and also fishing, while a few households never even received the mosquito nets at all. That moment actually changed everything in that community because the problem was not that activities were not carried out. So the problem was that nobody actually stopped to ask, are we reaching the right people? Are the resources being used correctly? Is this change actually happening? And that is the power of monitoring and evaluation. M&E helps us move from simply saying we did something to us asking, did something actually happen? Did what we do actually make a difference? And that is the actual exact conversation that we're having today. But before we proceed, let's quickly take a few housekeeping rules.
Some of our housekeeping rules are as follows. Please keep your microphones muted throughout this section. Kindly drop your questions in the chat box during the presentation. We'll address these questions during the Q&A segments. So we encourage active participation and engagement throughout the section. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our facilitator, Favor Carlo. She is a monitoring and evaluation specialist with experience in supporting programs that are focused on women, youth, and children. She has expertise in data collection, analysis, reporting, indicator development, and the use of digital tools for tracking program performance and impacts. Favor Carlo is actually passionate about strengthening accountability, evidence generation, and result-driven programming. And she's known for simplifying technical M&E concepts into practical and easy to understand learning. Today, she will guide us through the foundations of M&E, that's monitoring and evaluation. This will be including indicator design, data collection, reporting, and practical tools for measuring progress and impact. So to briefly outline the structure for today's webinar, we'll begin with a presentation and we'll follow by an interactive Q&A session. Then we'll be concluding with closing reflections. So without further ado, I invite Favor Carlo to lead today's section. Favor Carlo, good morning.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Okechukwu. Thank you so much for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I believe you all are having a great and wonderful day. So I'm truly excited to be here with you today for this section. So whether you're a new M&E person or already working within projects, this section is designed to help you understand the basic concepts, the practical tools, and real-life applications of monitoring and evaluation in a simple and relatable way. Okay, so M&E is not just about reports and numbers. It helps the organization track progress, measure impacts, improve decision-making, and ensure accountability. So let me just share my slide. I believe we all can see my screen. Please, if you can see my screen, kindly signify by raising your hand. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. So, like I said, this session is strictly for monitoring and evaluation. So, we'll be learning a few objectives by the end of this webinar. We'll be looking at understanding some core M&E concepts, on having a core knowledge of the difference between monitoring and evaluation. Then we also have, at the end of the session, understand the roles the indicators play in M&E, the data collection aspect, the reporting, and in the M&E cycle. Then we'll also be looking at applying basic M&E tools, including the log frames, the result chain, and the smart indicators. So now let's dive into the main business for the day. What is M&E? We keep on calling it M&E, M&E. M&E, like we've already indicated, is the monitoring plus evaluation. These are two different things. It's not a case whereby you can say they can be used interchangeably. No, monitoring is very much different from the evaluation. We'll be looking at the difference very soon. So the collection of the word monitoring and evaluation is actually a systemic approach to track, measure results, and also to support decision making in a project. So, like I've already stated, it tracks the progress, it continuously monitors the activities of the project, activities that are planned against a particular result. For a result that has been drafted out, for a goal, for a project, there are a series of activities that take place for you to actually achieve the bigger goal. So this system is a system that has been put in place to track the progress of this. Then we also look at the M&E also measures the results. That's where the data comes in. You go into the field, you collect the data to actually help you to do what? Make informed decision in the project, to know whether, okay, what is going on, what is not going on, is there something I'm not doing well, the stakeholders, the beneficiaries, even when it comes to inputs in terms of activity implementation, you are tracking, you are checking to know, okay, if all is actually going well, are we headed towards the desired impact or the change that I want to see at the end of this project. So this is actually a system to help you to track and be sure that you are on the right path. It's just like when let me say you're traveling, you know that your destination is Lagos, you're heading to Lagos. You know, maybe as you are going along the way, when we are still small, we'll be looking at when we'll get to Ore. You know that Ore, that's where most of us will get down and do what and eat. Once you get there, you'll be like, okay, we are on point, we're on the right track. I believe we also, it's something that is actually being put in place. This monitoring, it happens daily, even without us knowing. It's something that happens in our subconsciously, we practice it. So we'll be looking at it in details. So the reason why M&E matters in our lives, this is a system that can be used even as an individual, in your business, for an NGO, for those that have projects that they want to achieve. These are systems that you can actually apply in your life to help you track and be sure that you are doing the right thing. So it helps you to make improved decision. Let's say during the course of your evaluation or monitoring, you know that there is a target. Maybe the beneficiary said that their target audience is probably children between 5 to 6 years or 5 to 10 years old. They want to send them back to school. And during the course of your monitoring, you've gone back to check and you now realize that this the target audience now is now shifting from the desired 6 to 10 years to probably maybe including those that are 11 or 12 years old. You have to come back and find out what exactly is happening. What are we not doing well? So in this case, it will improve your decision making to know, okay, what exactly is going on? Where do we improve? What do we do so that we can go back on track? So it also helps with tracking your performance against probably your targets. You have a target to reach for a project. Let's say you have a project about drilling a borehole in, let's say, Akuke community, and that's your target. Your target, you want to probably drill like 50 boreholes in that Akuke community. So with this monitoring and evaluation, it will actually help you to track, well, this actual target, maybe you have a period of time, you want to do this within a month, a period of 6 months or a year. Then if by the 7th or 8th month, what you still have, what you've done drilled so far is just 10, you know at that point that you are not really you know that you might, at the end of the project cycle, you might not be able to actually get that 50 boreholes dug that you actually plan. So it will help you to track and know whether you are doing well or not. Then it also ensures accountability to your donors, to the government, to the community at large, to the people that you are serving, even to yourself, that you are using it yourself. As, let me say, you have a project that you are trying to monitor. It helps you to be accountable even to yourself, to the donor and every other person. Then it also supports learning, because let's now say with the case of the borehole, and you now realize that within this period of 10 months or a year, you've not been able to get that 50 borehole dug due to probably some challenges or fund constraints. You now know that subsequent intervention, you know that this 1 year won't be enough for you to complete that particular project. So it will actually help in learning, it supports in the learning process. So on that subject, we'll now be moving to understanding the concepts, the terminologies, the monitoring and the evaluation separately, so that we know how this thing works. Like I said, it's together, it comes that it helps us to track progress, their performance, even aids in decision making. But they operate separately, they operate in different angles. So monitoring tracks your activity continuously. It's looking at the process for you to actually have that desired goals accomplished. You have a goal of, probably training 50 youths in digital skills. So the monitoring is now looking at the day-to-day activity. What exactly it is are you going to do? What are we going to do? Are the activities happening as we planned? The resources, the funds, are they being utilized? The target audience, are we meeting them just as it's been expected? Then you check out, you look out for your attendance. Okay, you want to train 50 youths, and then probably during the monitoring, it will help you to find out maybe for a particular training, you want to, your focus is on 50 youths, but when they came for the attendance, you had only 20 youths in attendance. It shows that something is wrong. So what didn't we do right? Why are these people not showing? So it helps you to track your activities continuously. It looks at the process of getting to the final destination. Like I said, if the example of traveling, you are headed to Lagos, you will not just close your eyes and be like, I know some people do that, but it's actually a risky thing for you to just close your eyes and you know for sure that the driver, once you open it, will be in Lagos. Most like me, when I'm traveling, I open my eyes, I'm looking out for the signboard, I'm checking, okay, we've reached this particular destination, okay, we are moving. How many minutes more, how many hours more before I get to my destination? So you're checking, you're making sure that you are still on track. You don't just close your eyes and open it and try and see. Maybe the driver might even swerve and take another route and take you to probably Calabar, and you're wondering how come. But if you have been awake and tried to track and be sure that this person is taking the right path, then you will know that once they swerve, once the driver deviates, you call the driver back to order. So this is what happens even in our projects. The projects that we are implementing, you monitor it daily. It's a continuous thing. Then when you now, like, it's just like the picture that we are seeing here, the speedometer is helping you to check the speed gauge. You know that maybe for this particular lane, it's been written that you shouldn't pass 40 kilometers per hour. It will help you to be gauging. It will help you to gauge your speed, so that slow and steady you get to your destination. But on the other hand, evaluation now looks deeper into the project. Is looking at results. You understand? The evaluation, like I said, looks at the process to arrive at the result. Meanwhile, the evaluation is looking at the result. So it answers the questions that it answers is, did the project create the change we want? Like I said, you want to train 50 youths on digital skill, and in the long run, there were some challenges that happened and it did not yield the expected result. This evaluation is something that would help you to actually find out if the desired result is being achieved. The evaluation actually happens, it's evaluation for a project, it happens in 4 stages. So we have the baseline evaluation, because for you to be actually measure out and know that there is a change that is happening, you should have an idea of what the state of that the project, let's say literacy level of a particular community, digital literacy level of a particular community. So you need to conduct a baseline assessment to actually know if these people they know what it is that they want to, in terms of digital skills. They know if they have any literacy knowledge on digital skills. So with the baseline assessment, after the baseline assessment, this evaluation, like I initially mentioned, it happens at specific period. It happens, we have the baseline assessment, which is what I was trying to explain. We have the midline assessment. This happens in between the project, the life cycle of the project. And then we have the endline assessment, which happens immediately at the end of the project. Then the last one is the impact evaluation. This one is after a period of 3 to 5 years that the project is completed. You will now come back and find out if the results that were recorded probably 3 years ago or 5 years ago is still what it has always been. So evaluation looks at the results that has been gotten. If we are getting it, what lessons can be learned? What can we, what challenges, what were the issues that resulted in this thing not happening the way the goal that we want, not happening the way we want it. So like I said, the monitoring is a continuous activity looking at the process, while the evaluation is looking at the result, and this thing is being carried out periodically at specific period: the baseline, the midline, the endline, and the impact evaluation that happens after a period of years. So this is just a matrix for us at a glance to see the actual difference. You can see that monitoring in terms of timing is a continuous thing, while the evaluation is a periodic activity that happens. So for the focus, it focuses on daily progress, it focuses on activities. For the evaluation, it focuses on the results, the impact. Are we hitting the target? Are we gearing towards what it is that we actually the goal of this project? Okay, you want to train 100 children in public, in a private school, or probably in digital literacy. So you are now checking if this thing is actually gearing towards the result that you want. Then the key questions that we ask in some of these things is, are we doing the right thing? Are the right people attending these events? Are the right stakeholders involved? Because there are some activities that you might want to carry out. If you do not involve the right stakeholders, you know that sustainability of that project will be an issue, because the moment it ends with you. So sometimes you have to factor in all these things. The right stakeholders, are they available? Are the right people attending? Are the amount that we are putting in, the funding, is it enough to actualize what it is that we actually want to do? Then the evaluation is looking at, are we now doing the right thing? Okay, then a real world example is checking the daily attendance for youth training. Like I said, before youth training, you have a particular age range. There's a project that we have that deals with youth, and the youth, they must be between 18 to 36 years. Anything above or below, they are not part of the beneficiaries of that project. So you continually check, are these people the target beneficiaries for this project? The sources, the funding, the materials that will be needed, are they all in place? Then for the evaluation, is looking at checking if participants gained new skills after the training. Did unemployment in a particular community reduce? Okay, then maybe when it comes to maybe digging a borehole, maybe your goal in that community is to reduce the prevalence of cholera in that community. And you know, cholera, the main cholera is associated with water, unavailability of water, maybe bad water in the community. So you now take it upon yourself, or a donor decided to take up that project in that community. So now the activities now might now be you digging of borehole. What you are targeting is what? The reduction of the prevalence of cholera in that community. So while you are carrying out the activities, you're also checking and conducting your evaluation, both mid-term based, and at the end, you will now compare, after the construction of this borehole, was there a reduction in the prevalence of cholera and all that? So the evaluation looks at results. So that is the main difference between the two of them. So we're looking at the result chain maps. The journey, that's the result chain here. It shows the pathway from input to impact, from the input activities to the impact. So input now, we are looking at are the resources used. The result chain, they are divided into 4. We have the inputs, we have the outputs, we have the outcomes, and the impacts. You can see the way the arrows are going. So from inputs, it moves to outputs. Inputs are looking at the resources that are being used for that particular project. So the long-term picture, the long-term impacts that we want to see for this project is to see that 30 youths gain employment. You understand? You should see that 30 youths gain employment. But then we have to start somewhere. And the place that we are starting from is from the input, the resources that will be using. What is the money, the staff, the time, the hall that will be used, the computers, the attendance sheet. All these things are resources that are being imputed. Just like input is looking at everything that you are putting into that particular project to get the actual impact. Then the output is looking at the immediate result from that activity, the immediate result of the activity. So after the inputs, the trainings and everything, the trainings comes in form of the activities. You've conducted your training. So immediately after the trainings, immediately after the activities that's being carried out, what next happens? The output comes in. So the output is looking at the immediate product of the activity. So in this case, we are looking at 100 youths were trained. Okay. The output of this particular activity is 100 youths trained. Then the outcome is now looking at the short-term changes or short-term impact. The impact is the long-term or the bigger change that we are seeing. This one is the short-term goal. Impact is the long-term goal. So now out of the 100 youths that were trained, the outcome now is that 70 of them were now able to use that digital skills, probably for their personal business, or they were able to secure employment or anything. Then when you now move to the impact, now the impact is now 30 youths gained employment. That is now the bigger picture. From the trainings that you conducted, remember you conducted trainings for 100 youths, out of which 30 of them were able to, that's like almost 30% of the beneficiaries that were trained were able to secure employment with the skills that they learned. So this is how this result chain moves from input to activities to the output to the outcome, and then the long-term goal, which is the impact. And that is what we always focus on whenever we are planning for the activity. So we are going to look at an indicator. Indicators are like pointers. You know, they are like pointers. It's a sign that shows that you are gearing towards the right path. It helps you to check, to make sure that things are actually on track. It helps you to measure in between whether the input or the output. You have to check and be sure that you are actually doing or reporting the right thing. So indicators are like, we can see the instance that's been given here. For example, when we go to the hospital, okay, you want to see the doctor. First of all, they will tell you that they want to take your vitals. What are those vitals? By the time they'll check your blood pressure, check your blood percentage, check your temperature, your weight, and all these things are what would help the doctor to actually make a better decision in diagnosis. Okay, so these indicators are actually like pointers, helps you to track and measure. So for instance, this activity now that you're seeing on your screen, the activity here is cooking of rice. But the indicator, how do we know that this rice is actually ready, is what? When you test for the softness of the rice. Okay, so once you are sure that this rice is okay, is soft enough for consumption, then what is now the decision? It is now ready to be consumed. So indicators, the answer, if the question that the answer is if the activities are actually happening, how many benefited, what exactly changed. Okay, so indicators are like, they are in different levels. We have the input, the output indicator, the outcome indicator, and the impact indicator. All of them measure different levels of indicator. So now these are steps. This is the step to design a reliable indicator. So for you to design a reliable indicator, whether it be input or output or impact indicator, you must know exactly what it is you want to measure. Okay, how many women started the business, or you should be sure what exactly it is that you want to measure, so that it won't just be a vague something. Your indicator shouldn't be vague. It should be targeted at a particular thing. You don't just say you want to indicate or how many, like you need to actually be targeted at what it is you want to measure. Then make it clear and countable. Your indicator should be clear and countable. It must be measurable. You cannot just come and say many women benefited. You need to be specific. How many of those women benefited? 50, 30, 40 of them benefited probably out of. So you need to be sure. Okay, how many? Make it something numeric. Let there be a number. Don't just make it vague. How many? Few women, few children, few boreholes were drilled. No, 50 boreholes were drilled in so community. You make it clear. Now, when you now look at another step is connect it to the objective. It must relate directly to the overall project goal. Okay, whatever it is that you are doing, make sure that it's connected to the overall goal of the project. So then with that, you will now have your targets being achieved. Then the next is we'll be looking at the different stages or the journey required for the different types of indicators. Remember, I mentioned that we have 4 different types of indicator. We have the input indicator, the output indicator, the outcome, and the impact indicators. So the input indicator in this case is now looking at what resources were used, okay? The amount of materials, number of facilitators, laptops used, what resources were imputed in that particular. So that is what it is checking. That is what that particular indicator is looking at. Then the output indicator is looking at what was produced. Remember I said the output is a result of what actually happened after the activity was conducted. So what was produced immediately after the activity. So the output indicator might be looking at the number of people trained, number of flyers distributed, number of boreholes done, number of drugs given out, okay, number of children reached, number of women in a particular community that were empowered. So this is actually what the output indicator is looking at. Then the outcome is now looking at what's changed. So after you empower these women, after you gave them this drug, after this borehole. So, but this is looking at the short-term goals, okay, of what actually changed. You gave them this, you did this, you dug this borehole. What exactly happened after then? So what changed after the activity? So you might now be looking at the percentage of the women using the new business knowledge. Probably you empowered 50 women with a sewing machine. And now the outcome the output indicator, you've empowered them. 50 women were empowered. Then the outcome indicator is now looking at the percentage out of those women, how many were able to actually utilize that sewing machine for the business. Some of them might have gone home to dump it. Maybe they don't have shop, they cannot practice in their house or something. But within those 50, how many of them actually were able to start up a business with that? Okay, so the outcome indicator is looking at what changed after the activity. Then the impact now is now looking at the impact indicator, looking at it's like the goal indicator, pointing if we are actually heading towards the goal of that project. What happened? Okay, right then you must have conducted your evaluations. Remember I said evaluation has to do with you conduct your baseline. With your baseline, you'll be able to ascertain whether there was a change during your midline assessment or your endline assessment. So with this impact indicator, you will now be able to find out if there was an increase, a decrease, a reduction, a change, if there was actually a change that was observed, probably a change in discourse, a change in a narrative. With that, you'll be able to actually find out if something actually happened that is a long-term difference or a long-term goal. So it could be reduction in youth unemployment, like the case of the women that were empowered with a sewing kit. Probably some of them, 30% of them might have started up a business with it. You now know that that particular family, for now, there's going to be an improved livelihood for them. Their economic status or the economic status of the woman in that family will be increased because money is coming in. Okay, so these are something that these are the different stages of the indicator that are being measured. And then we will now be looking at the anatomy of a perfectly calibrated smart indicator. So when you are looking at this indicator now, you are seeing the different parts. It must be smart. A smart indicator means that S stands for specific. Like I said, you must state clearly what kind of training happened or what type of intervention happened. Then the measurable, like I said, you cannot just come and be giving us like few women were trained. No, you should be specific. What was your target? Okay, you want to train 50. You want to drill 5 boreholes. You need to be give us it must be measurable, highly countable. So for A stands for achievable. Training of you can see the example, the training of 80 people in 3 months is something that is realistic, unlike training of 10,000 person in a week. Even if it's a virtual training that you want to conduct to train 10,000, it might be possible, but deep down, you know that when you want to measure how many of them assimilated what was being taught during that training, you know it won't be up to that 10,000. So your training, your indicator must be achievable, something that is realistic. Okay, let it not just sound something like that will be overwhelming. Let it be something that you can actually handle, something that can be done. Then it must also be relevant. It must match the objective or the goal of that particular project, and it must be time bound. You can't just say you want to train 80 women and leave it at that. Train them how long? Do you want to use 10 years and train them? For how long do you want to, or is it just the training that you need to be specific, so that we will now find out if this is actually achievable? You can just say you want to train 10,000 persons and you did not, I might assume maybe the 10,000 person you want to train is for eternity. So, but when you are specific, you want to train so amount of persons in so period of time, it will help you even when you are monitoring to be on track. Okay, so far we've trained so amount of number of persons. What is left? Okay, how do we put in the systems together so that we can actually achieve what it is that we said we want to do before the time elapsed? So this is just the components of an indicator. Like I said, it must be a smart indicator. It must be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and also what? Time bound. We should always bear this at the back of our head whenever you want to draft an indicator, whether it be an input or outcome indicator. This must always be at the back of your mind. Then next, we'll be looking at the logical framework. The log framework builds success from ground to up. Okay? The logical framework is like a system that helps you to track your projects. It's a system. So when you're looking at it, you see the way the arrows are moving. Okay, we can see the arrows moving from down the base. The base here is looking at the activities that are being carried out. You know, we have a long-term goal. For instance, that we gave here is like the long-term, the overall goal we wanted is to reduce youth unemployment in Enugu State. But then we must start somewhere. It cannot just happen like that. We must start from the base. And the base here has to do with the activities that are carried out to achieve that particular goal. So the activity now forms the foundation. It has to do with the physical, probably organizing the sessions, inviting facilitators, inviting the youth, the target youth. You are saying you want to train youth. You don't just go and invite the elderlies or the younger or the children. You focus, you have an age bracket that you are working with. You ensure that those youths that fall within that age bracket attend or are part of this intervention. So these are what you look at in terms of the activity. So you now look at the output. Okay, the output is now looking at the direct, like I said, output is the immediate result of whatever activity you've carried out. Okay, you've organized all this thing. What activity happened? You were able to train 100 youths in digital skills. Okay, you'll be able to procure materials for drilling of borehole. That is the activity. You secure the contractor, you bought the materials, you secure the plot of land where you want to drill this and all that. That is the activity. Then what now happened? You were now able to drill probably 2 or 3 boreholes in that community. That is the output of an example of the immediate outcome of that drilling of borehole. Then when it now comes to outcomes, you're now looking at the change that is expected after the intervention. So in this case, you're looking at youth improve employability skills. Okay, maybe the part of the borehole, you can now say probably there is now availability of water, okay, clean water in the community. So now maybe, like I initially mentioned, the goal now is to reduce youth unemployment. You can see that everything is geared towards achieving that particular goal. For the water borehole drilling, it might be that your goal, the goal of the donor, is to eradicate or reduce cholera in that community. So by the time you now provide water for the community, they have access to clean water. By the time you conduct your assessment, you will now see that there is a drastic reduction in the prevalence of cholera in that community. So it means what? That your goal was being achieved in the long run. So this is how this log frame, it's called log frame for short, logical frame for long. So this is an example now that I want us to look at. The project now is a soap making livelihood projects. So we want to empower 50 women in soap making. Okay, so looking at this now, on my left-hand side, you can see the goal, the long-term impact, the outcome, the output, and the activities. Then on the top columns, you are seeing the objectives, the indicators. These are looking at the indicators, these objectively verifiable indicators. Okay, then this is the MOVs, the means of verification. These are documents or system that we can look at to verify whatever claims that or in the indicators, whatever it is that we are reporting as indicators. We always have a means of verification. It could be documents, it could be surveys, it could be anything can be used to verify. But as we go on, you can see how these things are being done. Then this log framework always contains the risks and the assumption. These are factors that determines whether this project will work or it will not work. Okay, for each level, whether it will work or it will not work. So you can see that the arrows are like the log frame. You can see that it starts from the base, which is the activity, to the output, to the outcome. When you come to this log, this is an example of a log frame for developing of empowering 50 women. So the activities now form the base. You can see that the arrows are going up, gearing towards the final goal. So the activity here now for the objective, we will look the activities to select 50 eligible women. Then we'll procure training materials. Remember what I said, activities has to do with. Then conduct a 5 days hands-on training. Maybe that's what we plan to do. And then provide mentoring and market linkages for these women, so that once they produce their soap, they'll be able to have access to off-takers that will purchase the soap, so that it won't be in their hands and spoil. Then the indicator here will now be looking at 100% of participants selected. We want to train 50, and 50 of them must be selected. 100% of materials purchased. You must do your calculation and find out the amount or the quantity of materials that will be enough to train these 50 women. So everything must be purchased and intact. Then, and all the training days must be complete. You mapped out that you use 5 days. In those 5 days, you must have some agendas that will cover those 5. So all the training days must be completed. So this is the indicator here. All the training days being complete. Then the means of verification to be sure that this activity actually happened is what? Signed attendance. You have your attendance sheet with you that this participants will sign. It's actually a means to verify that this activity actually happened. Then purchase receipts for the materials that you purchased, that you procured for this particular activity. Then we are looking at the mentoring log, even pictures too. You take pictures so that we are seeing that this attendance, okay, we are seeing 50. If the pictures are not really tallying with the attendance, maybe you reported that they are 50, meanwhile they are